بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد, we continue reading in the treatise of Imam Al-Ajurri rahimahullah ta'ala, Akhlaqul Ulama. Reading from the chapter, the author he has mentioned Kitabu Akhlaq al-Alim al-Jahil al-Muftatan bi'ilmihi. Kitabu Akhlaq al-Alim al-Jahil al-Muftatani bi'ilmihi. The chapter or the book with regards to the manners and the conduct of the ignorant scholar. Al-Alim al-Jahil, the ignorant scholar. Al-Muftatan bi'ilmihi, the one who is tried. The one who is tried by his knowledge. The one whose knowledge is a fitna for him. We have seen, as has preceded, that this person, he is tried by shahwa, the fitna of the shahawat and the ahwa, that he is, the ahwa, that his heart has a desire and a lust for the dunya and the glitter of this life, and his intention therefore is corrupted. This person, his fitna is not from the aspect of the knowledge itself, from the shubha, rather he has knowledge. He has knowledge, but he does not obtain it, or he did not obtain it, and he does not use that knowledge for its purpose, the reason why it was revealed, which is to apply the actions and the deeds that will draw one near to Allah Azza wa Jal. Rather, he uses that knowledge with a foul intention and a lowly goal and aim, and that is to reach the high ranks and status and the glitter of this life, and praise of the people, and the position and the rank amongst the people, and the wealth and the adornment of the al-hayat al-dunya. So the author, he has mentioned some narrations. We have read them, some of the narrations, and all of them so far have indicated this issue of the foul intention, an-niyya as-sayyi'ah, wal-qasd al-fasid, that he has a foul intention and a corrupt goal and aim with the knowledge that he is learning or carrying. And we continue reading. In our previous class, we left off in the narration of Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah. The author, he mentioned with a chain of narration to Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah ta'ala, قال يقال تعوذوا بالله من فتنة العابد الجاهل وفتنة العالم الفاجر فإن فتنتهما فتنة لكل مفتون. The author, he mentioned the narration of Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah ta'ala, that he said, it's mentioned, yani from the wisdoms that have been mentioned, تعوذوا بالله من فتنة العابد الجاهل. تعوذوا يعني استعيذوا بالله. تعوذوا يعني استعيذوا بالله, to seek refuge with Allah. To seek refuge with Allah. يعني تعوذ بمعنى استعاذة, يعني to make an isti'adha, وتعوذ بالله سبحانه وتعالى, from what? To seek refuge with Allah and protection with Allah from what? من فتنة العابد الجاهل, من فتنة العابد الجاهل وفتنة العالم الفاجر. Seek refuge, it used to be said, or from the wisdoms that are mentioned, to seek refuge with Allah and protection with Allah from the trial and the tribulation, the trial and the tribulation of the ignorant servant and slave, or of the ignorant worshipper, and also the fitna of the corrupt and evil scholar. The corrupt and evil scholar. For verily the fitna of these two is a trial and a tribulation for everyone who is tried. For everyone who is tried. As we know, the author, he's mentioned with this chain, yani to Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah. The author himself, he died in the year 360. And Sufyan al-Thawri, he died before him by 200 years. He died in the year 161, approximately 200 years. He died in 161. Rahimahumullah ta'ala. This is something that was said in his time, in the time of the Tabi'een and the Atba' Tabi'een. This is something that was said in their time. Ta'awwadhu billahi min fitnatil abid al-jahil. Seek refuge and protection with Allah from the fitna of the ignorant worshipper. From the ignorant worshipper. Yani this person here, al-abid الجاهل موصوف بالعبادة لكنها مقرونة بالجهل. This person, he is described and has the attribute of ibadah. He's an abid. He is worshipping Allah. He is performing deeds of worship, and he considers himself to be worshipping Allah, striving to draw near to Allah Azza wa Jal, but all the while doing that upon ignorance. Doing that based upon ignorance, not based upon a clarification from the Quran and from the Sunnah. And any act of worship that is not based upon the Quran and the Sunnah, then this is considered innovation, with bid'ah. So because of his ignorance, even though he makes effort and he strives to worship Allah Azza wa Jal, because of his ignorance, he will not be able to achieve the goal that he is aiming for. Many people, they have intended good, but because of their ignorance, they are not able to achieve that good that they intended. And this has been mentioned in the narration that is very famous by Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu. Kam muridin lil khayri lam yusibhu. How many people have intended to do good, they did not obtain it. Some people, this is their excuse whenever they're reprimanded. Oh, I intended good, but it's not sufficient to have that intention. And this is the first requirement, is to have a good intention, but also coupled with that intention for the deed to be good and to be correct and to be accepted, it must be ala sunnah, according to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this person, he is known for worship, and he's known for ibadah, but also he's known for ignorance. He's known for ignorance, so then much of the effort of that ignorant worshipper will go to vain and will not be accepted. Even sometimes maybe it could be rejected. His efforts will be not accepted, will be rejected, and rather than obtaining nearness to Allah, he will only draw further away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by worshipping Him in a manner that He's not pleased with, in a manner that He did not legislate. And it is known with the ulama that al-bid'atu ahabbu ila ash-shaytani min al-ma'siyah. It's known to the ulama that they say al-bid'ah ahabbu ila ash-shaytani, that innovation is more beloved to a shaitan than disobedience. So to worship Allah Azza wa Jal is the goal and is the aim and is the purpose of our creation, but it is not performed upon ignorance. And the Salaf, they used to say, seek refuge with Allah from that type of person, because many of the people who are likewise ignorant and they are not aware of true ibadah and proper way to establish the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal, maybe they will see that individual and how his efforts are great and how he strives hard to devote himself in worship, and they will be deceived by him, and they will follow him in his misguidance, and they will say, oh, so and so, he's always in the masjid and he's always in salat, or he's always performing this particular deed and this act of worship, he's known for ibadah. But the person of knowledge, whenever he sees him, he knows that he's not upon the sunnah, he knows that he's not upon the straight path in his ibadah. But the rest of the laymen, maybe they are unaware of that reality, so they will be deceived by him. So they will be deceived by him and tricked by him, and they will think that because he's so devoted in his worship that it is something that is praiseworthy, and they will follow him in that, and they will thus follow him in misguidance, being deceived by بكثرة عبادته يغترون بكثرة عبادته. They'll be deceived and tricked by how much he worships Allah Azza wa Jal. So the Salaf, they used to seek refuge with Allah from this type of person. Likewise, the narration continues, وَفِتْنَةِ الْعَالِمِ الْفَاجِرِ. And this is the shahid for the author, rahimahullah ta'ala. And also, it was said to seek refuge with Allah and protection with Allah from the trials and tribulation of the corrupt and wicked scholar. Now, it is known that even from those days and those times, even in the days of the Salaf as-Salih, and the righteous generations that were praiseworthy and have been praised in the text of the Quran and the Sunnah, there were individuals who were described with knowledge, and they were known to be from the students or the people of knowledge, but they were corrupt, and their intention was corrupt, and they were foul, and they were evil, and it used to be said about them, seek refuge with Allah from that type of individual. So from the ulama, there are those who are considered من العلماء من هو فاجر فاسق خارج عن طاعة الله سبحانه وتعالى. From the people who are ascribed to knowledge, there are those people who are wicked and evil, and there are those people who are corrupt and they have a foul intention, and they have left the obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. They have left the obedience of Allah Azza wa Jal. This has caused them, this type of person, al-alim al-fajr, because of his foul intention and his evil goal and aim to obtain the dunya and to have status in this life. This caused him to give fatwa that are incorrect. And he gives fatwa to the people, making things permissible, that which are haram and impermissible. And we see even in these days, we find those foolish and those wicked people who ascribe to knowledge, and they give fatwa whenever they're asked, and they say, for example, in the States or in the West, it's permissible to take riba because of the situation that we live in. This is from this person. He's wanting something from the people. He knows that if he were to tell the people that riba is haram, that they will not take from him, and they will not provide for him, and they will not raise him to the status that he has reached. So they are afraid of losing that position, so they give fatwa to the people based upon their desires, hoping to please them and get what they have from the dunya. A'yadhan billah. A'yadhan billah. So this type of individual, يفتح أبواب الشر على الناس. He opens up the gates of evil and wickedness to the people because he is hoping to obtain the dunya that they have. And therefore he gives fatwa that are incorrect and that are corrupt and that are wrong and contrary to the legislation of Allah Azza wa Jalla and contrary to the principles of the deen. And all of this in order to obtain his foul and wicked goal and his evil intent to have a position in this life, iyadhan billah. So the ulama of the Salaf, they used to seek refuge from this type of person. And this is because many people, likewise, the laymen, they do not know the true scholar. Many of them, they never seen a real scholar from the people of the Sunnah, a true scholar who was raised upon knowledge and cultivated himself upon knowledge, and he has been seeking knowledge and teaching and learning and teaching and cultivating the people upon khair and upon the Sunnah, learning the Quran and the Sunnah and the methodology of the Salaf at the feet of the scholars until his hair has become gray and his beard has become gray, and he's known for knowledge, and he's known for the proper creed and the proper methodology, and he's known for piety and righteousness, and he's known for not delving into issues that do not concern him, and he's known for being a person of honesty and truthfulness in his statement and his deed. And this is the one who is a scholar. Many of the people, they never actually have met this type of person and seen him. So those who see those people who resemble them and are not really from them, they can easily be deceived. They will hear his statements and they will see that he has the adornment of the ulama and the clothing of the ulama, and he has the speech of the ulama, but in reality his heart is evil and wicked. Al-alim al-fajir. Al-alim al-fajir. This is what Sufyan al-Thawri, the great scholar of hadith, he used to mention, rahimahullah ta'ala, that it was said in their times to seek refuge with Allah Azza wa Jal from the fitna and the trials and tribulations of the ignorant worshipper, and seek refuge and protection with Allah Azza wa Jal from the trials and the evils of the corrupt and evil and the wicked scholar, iyadhan billah, because they are a trial and fitna for everyone who is tried. They are a trial for everyone who is tried. The people who are not aware of their reality, they will be deceived by them. The people who are not aware of the reality of that worshipper who is ignorant, they will think that he is upright and he is pious in his worship, and they will follow him upon that way. And little do they know he is upon innovation, because he is worshiping Allah upon ignorance, not upon clarification from the Quran and the Sunnah. And likewise, the people, whenever they see that scholar, whenever he speaks and he mentions the evidences in the text, and whenever he mentions the narration, so on and so forth, they may be amazed by him and point their fingers at him, and they raise him to a high status and rank. But in reality, inside of his heart, he does not want the reward from Allah Azza wa Jalla, and he's not seeking the pleasure of Allah. Rather, he's seeking the affairs of the dunya, and this is his goal and this is his aim. So the people will likewise will be deceived from this type of person. The people who are unaware of this reality, they will be deceived from this type of person. The Salaf, they used to seek refuge with Allah from this individual, or from this type of individual. Likewise, the author, he mentioned, rahimahullah ta'ala, another chain of narration, this time to Makhul, rahimahullah ta'ala, also from the Tabi'in. He died in the year 112. He said, rahimahullah, كان يقول إنه لا يأتي على الناس ما يوعدون حتى يكون عالمهم فيهم أنتن من جيفة حمار. He mentioned, rahimahullah ta'ala, that this is in reference to the signs of the hour, that what the people have been promised will not come to them, meaning the resurrection in the last day, until the person of knowledge amongst them is antan. Antan is it has the worst foul odor. than the jifa of himar, than the carcass of a donkey, the dead body of a donkey. It just knows that this jifa of the himar, the dead body and the carcass of a donkey, if it is left to rotten and decay, it becomes very foul, and the odor is very foul and disgusting. Likewise, he's saying that the resurrection will not come until the people of knowledge, the people of knowledge from, or the person of knowledge from amongst the people, he will smell or be worse in odor in this, and not literally in his odor, but and he will be more wicked and filthy and disgusting than that foul odor. Now, likewise, it has been narrated in the same light from Ash-Shabi, rahimahullah ta'ala. He died in the year 109. Also from the Tabi'in, he said, اتقوا الفاجر من العلماء. اتقوا الفاجر من العلماء. Be aware and take caution from the wicked and corrupt from the scholars or from the people of knowledge. والجاهل من المتعبدين. And also from the ignorant of those people who devote themselves to worship. فإنهما آفة كل مفتون. Because they are the trial or the calamity for everyone who is tried. And everyone who is unaware of their true situation, they will be tried by them, by following them and going upon their way and falling into the evils that they have themselves fallen into. Likewise, the author, he mentioned another narration, this time with his chain to Al-Awza'i, rahimahullah ta'ala. He died in the year 157. Rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, يقول كان يقال ويل للمتفقهين لغير العبادة والمستحلين الحرمات بالشبهات. Al-Awza'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that and it is said, meaning also from the wisdoms and the beneficial statements that have been mentioned in his days, that ويل للمتفقهين لغير العبادة. ويل كلمة هلاك والعذاب, يعني it's a dua, to make dua against that person. May they be destroyed, may they be punished. The one who seeks fiqh, المتفقهين الذين يتفقهون, يعني يطلبون الفقه, يجتهدون في طالب الفقه, لكن لغير العبادة, لغير العبادة. But they do this, they seek fiqh and they strive to gain knowledge, but not in order to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. ويل للمتفقهين لغير العبادة. May those people who seek fiqh and understanding in the deen be destroyed, those who seek it for other than the purpose of ibadah. And this is what was mentioned in their days, in the days of the Tabi'een and those after them, that this person, may he be destroyed, may he be punished. And this is something that is lowly and a despicable trait, that they would seek fiqh in the deen, and that they would seek to learn the Quran and the Sunnah and the methodology of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum only for something from the affairs of this life, not for the purpose of drawing near to Allah. لغير العبادة, not for the purpose of ibadah. This is the whole reason that this fiqh was revealed. And this is the whole reason why the Quran was revealed. And this is the whole reason why the Sunnah was clarified. And this is why the Sahaba, they had given their lives to defend the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and spread his Sunnah after him in order for Allah to be worshipped upon clarity. So those who gain or seek to gain this knowledge, not for that reason, then they have taken on a foul path. Until the extent that it is mentioned here that some of the Salaf, they will make dua. It will be said about them, وَيْلٌ لَهُمْ, and may they be destroyed, may they be punished. As we have seen likewise from the narration of Sufyan al-Thawri, likewise they would also seek refuge from that with Allah, from that type of person. تَعَوَّذُوا بِاللَّهِ مِنْ هَؤُلَاءِ. نعم, تَعَوَّذُوا بِاللَّهِ, اسْتَعِيذُوا بِاللَّهِ مِنْ هَؤُلَاءِ الْعُلَمَاء الْفُسَاقِ. Naam, he says here, so Awza'i, he says, وَيْلٌ لِلْمُتَفَقِّهِينَ لِغَيْرِ الْعِبَادَةِ وَالْمُسْتَحِلِّينَ الْحُرَمَاتِ بِالشُّبُهَاتِ. Also, likewise, may those people be destroyed, those who seek to make permissible that which is haram by way of shubuhat and doubts. By way of shubuhat and doubts. There are some people, their desires have overcome them, and to the extent that they want to perform that which is impermissible, and they want to perform that which is haram, and they have gone, and the whims in their soul has carried them to the extent that they will search for any way out from being restricted by the legislation. They will search for any way out they can find to be able to perpetrate and commit that which is impermissible, until the extent that they will try to declare something that is haram, that Allah has made haram in His book, or that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has clarified that it's haram in the Sunnah, they will try to find some shubha or some weak evidence or proof that is not clear to the point in order to make these sacred rites permissible, which are impermissible, to make them permissible. The Salaf, they used to say, وَيْلٌ لِمِثْلِ هَؤُلَاءِ وَيْلٌ لِمِثْلِ هَؤُلَاءِ May those type of people be destroyed. May those type of people be destroyed. So it has preceded in many of our classes together that we have in this particular work, that statement of Ibn Qayyim. And with regards to the first part of this narration, وَيْلُ الْمُتَفَقِّهِينَ وَيْلُ لِلْمُتَفَقِّهِينَ لِغَيْرِ الْعِبَادَةِ May those people be destroyed, those who seek fiqh and strive, or they seek knowledge for other than the purpose of worship. May they be destroyed. وَيْلُ لَهُمْ. Now that statement of Ibn Qayyim about the Salaf, what did the Salaf used to consider fiqh? Here he's talking about al-mutafaqihina. يعني تفقه يتفقه تفقه تفقها يعني طالب الفقه واجتهد في طلبه. That's what this verb means. So this is talking about striving hard to gain an understanding in the deen. But according to the Salaf, the true fiqh, يعني the true fiqh, as Ibn Qayyim he has mentioned رحمه الله تعالى, لم يكن السلف يطلقون اسم الفقه إلا على العلم الذي صاحبه العمل. That the Salaf, they did not use the word al-fiqh properly, and the proper usage of the Salafi usage of the word fiqh. They did not use that word fiqh except to refer to that type of knowledge that is coupled with action. So we see here that knowledge that is not coupled with action are those people who seek knowledge and not for the purpose of action, ibadah. Then the Salaf, they used to make dua against them. وَيْلٌ لِمِثْلِ هَؤُلَاءِ وَيْلٌ لِلْمُتَفَقِّهِينَ لِغَيْرِ الْعِبَادَةِ وَالْمُسْتَحَلِّينَ الْحُرَمَاتِ بِالشُّبُهَاتِ. And likewise those who try to use the shubuhat and the unclear evidences and doubts in that are found in the deen. They try to use these unclear proofs or doubts that they come up from their misinterpreted understandings in order to make the haram permissible. Meaning that they turn away from the clear text, their ayat and their hadith muhkama that are clear in their understanding, and they leave those and they follow the verses or the texts that are unclear, and they understand them with misinterpretation in order to follow their desires and to declare something that is permissible. And it has been mentioned likewise from the Salaf that they will say, and it's a very known statement and very important for a believer to be aware of, that the ulama, they will say, من طلب رخص العلماء أو من تتبع رخص العلماء تزندق. That whoever is always following the licenses of the ulama, then this person تزندق, meaning he will become a heretic, and he will become a true hypocrite. عياذا بالله. The one that every time they look into an issue and they find that this scholar and that scholar, they said it's haram, and they mention the proof that it's clear, they're not satisfied. They'll go, well, I think there's another scholar who has another position. And then you say, this is haram, brother or sister. And they say, the scholar so-and-so said it's permissible. But we mentioned to you the evidence and the proof and the clarification of those ulama who mentioned that it's haram. They clarified with evidence that it's proof, and then you're going to say, well, Sheikh so-and-so said it's permissible, and that's and that's the evidence that you present. This is an indication that person, he's not seeking to follow the evidence and to follow the truth and to worship Allah Azza wa Jal with his action. Rather, they just looking for somebody who declared it to be permissible for them so that they can follow their desires. This is a mistake. And the people who do like this, they're in danger. عياذا بالله, of being led astray by their desires and their whims. If there's a difference of opinion between the ulama, and one person sees the evidence and follows that evidence, and then another person sees the evidence and follows another evidence, based upon the fact that they believe that evidence is strong and it's clear, and they worship Allah based upon that belief, then there's no blame in that difference, inshallah, if it's a difference that is acceptable in the issues of fiqh. For example. So this is not what I'm talking about, but sometimes there are issues that are in the deen and the areas of fiqh and ibadat and that which is halal and haram, that the ulama have differed about that, and the evidence for one position is very clear. And then another person, maybe they will have also a contrary position, and their evidence is not so clear, or their evidence is weak, and the likes like this. And this type of person who does not look into the evidence to follow the dalil and to seek the pleasure of Allah by following the revelation, rather they just look to find something that would allow them to perform their desires. This is what is in reference to here. مَنْ تَتَبَّعَ رُخَص الْعُلَمَاء تَزَنْدَقَ. And this is something that is dangerous. And he's seeking to make their desires permissible by finding the differences of opinion of the ulama. The differences of opinion of the ulama. Rather, a believer, what he's required to do, whether he's male or female, what they're required to do is to follow the evidence and to follow the proof, to follow the evidence and to follow the dalil in the Quran and in the Sunnah and in the understanding of the Salaf, and to believe in that. When they see it, if the evidence is clear and they believe in that, then they follow that, seeking their reward from Allah Azza wa Jal, not seeking their desires and to follow their whims. A'yadhan billah. The author, rahimahullah ta'ala, likewise, he mentions another narration with his chain, this time to Wahab ibn Munabbih, rahimahullah, also from the Tabi'een. He died in the year 114, rahimahullah ta'ala. He says, يقول قال الله عز وجل فيما يعاتب به أحبار بني إسرائيل. Allah Azza wa Jal, he mentioned, and that which he has reprimanded the scholars of the children of Israel. This narration is what is known to the ulama as al-Isra'iliyat, yani the narrations of Bani Israel, some of the narrations that the Salaf have come across from the narrations of the Jews and the Christians before us in their day. And the ulama, they don't mention these narrations like this, the Isra'iliyat, and using them as an evidence and a proof to establish an issue, but they'll use them alongside as circumstantial evidence or for benefit if there are admonition found in them. They will not use them for the actual evidence themselves, but they mention them in their works and in their texts, yani for admonition purpose and the likes like this. And even it has been narrated in Sunan Abi Dawud, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, تحدثوا عن بني إسرائيل ولا حرج. And to narrate the narrations of Bani Israel, ولا حرج. But that which is found in their narrations that is contrary to that which is found in the Quran and the Sunnah, then we clearly disbelieve in that. And whatever is found in their narrations that is in accordance with the Quran and the Sunnah, then obviously this is true. And whatever is found in the narrations of Bani Israel that is not in the Quran, there's no mention of it in the Quran and the Sunnah, then we be quiet about that and we do not deny it, nor do we believe it. Because if we deny it, possibly it could be true and we do not know. We have no proof to reject it from our text, and likewise we have no proof to affirm it. This is the way that a believer, he deals with the narrations of Bani Israel. But in any case, the ulama of the Salaf and the scholars of Hadith, they will mention these narrations sometimes, yani for this benefit of admonition, so on and so forth, yani استئناسا. علماء الحديث يريدون مثل هذه الروايات استئناسا بها لا اعتمادا عليها في بناء الحكم. Wallahu a'lam. So he says here that Allah Azza wa Jal, he reprimanded the ahbar of Bani Israel. Ahbar is the plural of hibr, and the alim or the ulama. He said, now this is ascribed to Allah Azza wa Jal, تَفَقَهُونَ لِغَيْرِ الدِّينِ, that you seek fiqh and understanding in the religion for other than the deen. وَتَعَلَّمُونَ لِغَيْرِ الْعَمَلِ, and you learn knowledge for other than the purpose of action. For other than the purpose of action. And an indication which is known and established in the deen and in the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the purpose of knowledge is action. That the purpose of knowledge is action, and that knowledge is the means to draw near to Allah Azza wa Jal. That knowledge is the means to draw near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this knowledge is knowledge that is learned not for this life but for the hereafter. It is learned to know how to draw near to Allah Azza wa Jal and to be safe from His punishment in this life and in the hereafter. So this is the purpose of this knowledge. So he says here, تَفَقَّهُونَ لِغَيْرِ الدِّينِ وَتَعَلَّمُونَ لِغَيْرِ الْعَمَلِ, that you seek fiqh for other than the purpose of deen, and you are learning knowledge for other than the purpose of action and application. وَتَبْتَعُونَ dunya bi'amal al-akhirah, and you purchase the dunya at the price of the deeds of the hereafter. تلبسون جلود الضأن وتخفون أنفس الذئاب, that you wear the clothing of the sheep, but you are hiding the souls of wolves. And meaning on outwardly, يعني هم يتظاهرون بالصلاح وبالسكينة. They're making it apparent that they're humble, بالتواضع, that they're humble and that they're pious and that they're righteous, but in reality, inside their hearts, they're evil. تلبسون جلود الضأن وتخفون أنفس الذئاب. That you wear the skins of sheep, but inside you are hiding the souls of wolves. وتنقون القذى من شرابكم وتبتلعون أمثال الجبال من الحرام. That you clean and purify one speck from your drinks, but you are swallowing and devouring the size of mountains in haram. And he'll look into his drink and there's one speck of dust, or he is being very particular about his food and about his drink, but in reality he is eating the haram the size of mountains. And we find that some people, even in this day, they'll be like this, and they'll be specific and go into great details. ينقون القذى من شرابهم وَيَبْتَلِعُونَ أَمْثَالَ الْجِبَالِ مِنَ الْحَرَامِ. That they'll go into precise details about their food and about their diet and the type of food that they eat and the type of drinks that they drink, and in order to preserve their bodies. And which this is not something that is blameworthy. This issue in itself is not blameworthy, but the fact is that they have given great concern to protect their bodies and gone on these diets in great detail, and they have left their soul to devour the filth of the haram and that which is impermissible. This is the aspect that is blameworthy, that they have gone to this great extent to purify their drinks, and meaning their food that they eat themselves, and so on and so forth, and the drinks that they drink, but in reality they are devouring and swallowing the mountains of haram in their wealth and their earnings and their statements and their deeds and actions, not giving any concern for that. And this is very foul and evil. Just as a person will be concerned about the food that he puts in his body, likewise he will be concerned about his soul. He will not nourish his body and leave his soul to go to waste or be neglected. Rather, just as the body needs to be on a diet and to have the proper nutrition and nourishment, so likewise does the soul. It has to be nourished and cultivated properly likewise, or else it can become sick, and it can become weak, and it can be overcome by evils until it will lead an individual to his own destruction. عياذا بالله. So the narration continues, وَتُثَقِّلُونَ الدِّينَ عَلَى النَّاسِ أَمْثَالَ الْجِبَالِ. And likewise you make the deen heavy on the people, the size of mountains. And he making the deen heavy and hard for the people that whenever they ask. And even has been mentioned previously, the author has mentioned, I remember either in this work or in حملة القرآن, أقرأ حملة القرآن, that if there is somebody who asks for a fatwa from the poor people, then he will be stern and harsh on them, making it difficult for them because they have no wealth that he's looking for. And if there is somebody who asked a fatwa from him and they are wealthy, then he will try to find a way out for them, making it easy. In any case, the narration says, وَتُثَقِّلُونَ الدِّينَ عَلَى النَّاسِ أَمْثَالَ الْجِبَالِ. You make the deen heavy on the people. تُطِيلُونَ الصَّلَاةِ. You make the prayer very long. وَتُبَيِّضُونَ الثِّيَابِ. And you're purifying, whitening your garments to an extreme extent. وَتَنْتَقِصُونَ مَالَ الْيَتِيمِ وَالْأَرْمَلَةِ. While also depleting the wealth of the orphan and the widows. And to have a clean garment and a white garment, this is not blameworthy, but the intent and what is mentioned here is that they purify these things from the outward appearance, but on their inside they're filthy and dirty, and they are foul and polluted with corrupt intention and aims and goals, to the extent that they have this outward appearance, but at the same time they are taking the wealth of the orphan and taking the wealth of the widow. He mentions here. So the narration continues. He says, فَبِعِزَّتِي حَالَفْتُ لَأَدْرِبَنَّكُمْ بِفِتْنَةٍ يَضِلُّ فِيهَا رَأْيُ ذِي الرَّأْيِ وَحِكْمَةُ الْحِكِيمِ. He said, I swear by my might that I have taken an oath to, that I will strike you with a trial, that even the people of sound knowledge will go astray, and so will the people of wisdom. Likewise, they will go astray. This narration, the author he has mentioned from the narrations of Bani Israel, likewise has been mentioned by Ibn Mubarak in his book Az-Zuhd. Also, has been narrated by Abu Dawood in his Kitab Az-Zuhd also. And these are from those narrations that the ulama, they don't rely upon them, but they benefit from the admonishment, especially whenever the text, it carries meanings that have been established in the Quran and the Sunnah, with proper narrations or with proper understanding. The author likewise, now he mentioned his narration. This time he says to Fudayl ibn Iyad, rahimahullah ta'ala, he died in the year 187. These are the narrations of the Salaf as-Salih. This is the way of the ulama, the people of hadith, the people of knowledge, the people who have, their generations have been praised. This is the true people of knowledge. Fudayl, Sha'bi, Ibn Mubarak, Sufyan al-Thawri, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, and the likes of them, al-Uza'i, rahimahumullahu jami'an. This is their stance toward these people of knowledge who ascribe to knowledge and they're not truly from them. يتشبهون بأهل العلم وليسوا منهم في شيء. وَلَيْسُوا مِنْهُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ. They have some traits. The author is going to clarify many of these traits in great detail after he mentions these narrations. بإذن we continue. He says here, Al-Fudayl يقول إنما هما عالمان عالم الدنيا وعالم آخرة. Al-Fudayl, he says, he died in the year 187. Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, verily there are only two types of scholars. إنما هما عالمان. But truly, there are only two types of scholars, two types of people of knowledge. عالم الدنيا وعالم آخرة. The scholar of the dunya and the scholar of the hereafter. The scholar of the dunya, meaning that he wants to obtain the dunya, he wants to be known, he wants to be famous, he wants to be heard, and the likes like this. He wants to be seen, he wants to have position, he wants to be the man, he wants for the people to come to him and for him to be relied upon. He wants for it to be said, Ya Shaykh. And this is what he has intended in his heart. Iyadhan billah. Iyadhan billah. And the scholar of the hereafter. This is the one he wants to be said to him that your deeds have been accepted. That your deeds have been accepted. Now this is the one that he's looking for acceptance from Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, كَانَ سَعْيُكُمْ مَشْكُورًا. He wants to hear this. This is the person who's seeking the hereafter. He wants the pleasure of Allah. وَكَانَ سَعْيُكُمْ مَشْكُورًا. That verily your efforts, they are thanked, meaning they're accepted, and Allah Azza wa Jalla Ash-Shukur has accepted your deeds. This is what he is looking after. So he says, فَعَالِمُ الدُّنْيَا إِلْمُهُ مَنْشُورٌ. That the scholar of the dunya, then his knowledge is widespread. Yani widespread here, what is being referred to is that this person يَتَفَخَّرُ بِعِلْمِهِ وَيَتَبَاهَ بِهِ. And وَيُظْهِرُ نَفْسَهُ. That he will boast and brag about himself, and he will spread his own knowledge, and he grab boasting and bragging. I did this and I'm that, and I memorized this and I learned that, and I have this tazkiyah and I have that, and I have that one and this one, and so on. So praise me, and he'll spread his own, and he praising himself, and he will make himself known. And whenever it's mentioned, oh, I've done this before. Oh, you just now learned that. Oh, I've been doing this way longer than you, and he has this attention like this. فَإِلْمُهُ مَنْشُورٌ. And he boasts and brags about his knowledge, displaying himself and showing off, and the likes like this. He says, وَعَالِمُ الْآخِرَةِ عِلْمُهُ مَسْتُورٌ. And as for the scholar of the hereafter, then his knowledge is covered, meaning this person is humble and he does not brag and boast about himself. And manshur and mastur doesn't mean that the knowledge doesn't spread through the land. But what it means here is that the person of the scholar of the dunya, he shows off and he speaks about himself, and he makes it known that he is a person of knowledge. He makes it known that he is a student. He clarifies and he wants this purpose and to be me like this. And as for the person of the hereafter, then he does it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. He's humble, and he considers himself to be from the students of knowledge. He considered himself to be from the students of knowledge. What a great example we have in these days from our Sheikh Abdul Muhsin. Recently, whenever he's asked about him and the position for closing the masajid, he said, this is not for me and the likes of me from the students of knowledge to speak against the major scholars. Allahu Akbar, to speak, I need to go against the fatwa of the major scholars. And they asked him about this is not something for me and the likes of me from the students of knowledge to speak about. Rather, there are major scholars that should speak about this issue. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. This is the scholar, inshallah, we hope نحسبه كذلك أنه من علماء الآخرة حفظه الله تعالى. Now, so this is the way of the people of knowledge. Those people who seek the hereafter with their knowledge, then ilmuhu mastur. Ilmuhu mastur. Yani ilmuhu mastur, that he doesn't brag or boast about his knowledge, and he doesn't use his knowledge to show, he doesn't show the people his virtue over them because of how much knowledge he has, like this. But rather he's humble. He is alongside with them. Although he is more virtuous than them, no doubt. And although his rank is much higher than the people, he does not show them that. And he does not make them feel like that. But as for the other scholar of the dunya, he lets the people know who is the sheikh, and he lets the people know who is on top and who is in charge in this manner like this. This is that foul intention that shows in the actions of this type of individual. يَذِن بِاللَّهِ فَعَالِمُ الدُّنْيَا عِلْمُهُ مَنْشُورٌ وَعَالِمُ الْآخِرَةِ عِلْمُهُ مَسْتُورٌ. Al-Fudayl, he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, now what should we do? What is the solution for this issue? فَاتَّبِعُوا عَالِمَ الْآخِرَةِ. Follow the scholar of the hereafter. وَاحْذَرُوا عَالِمَ الدُّنْيَا. And beware and be cautious. Stay away from the scholar of the dunya. The scholar of the dunya. لَا يُسُدَّنَّكُمْ بِسُكْرِهِ. Do not let him stop you by his بسكره. Subhanallah. بسكره. يعني بسكره يعني أنه سكران. سكران بهواء. That he is drunk by his desires, not drunk by alcohol. He's drunk from desires of the dunya. The dunya has intoxicated him. Do not let his intoxication stop you or block you from achieving your goals, from achieving the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal. ثم تلا هذه الآية. Then Al-Fudayl, rahimahullah, he recited this verse. إن كثيرا من الأحبار والرهبان ليأكلون أموال الناس بالباطل ويصدون عن سبيل الله. He mentioned the verse of Allah Azza wa Jalla that verily many of the ahbar are the scholars of the Jews, والرهبان, and the devout worshippers of the Jews, ليأكلون أموال الناس بالباطل, that they eat and they take the wealth of the people in falsehood without right. ويصدون عن سبيل الله, and they block the path of Allah Azza wa Jalla. They block the path of Allah Azza wa Jalla. They take the wealth without right. They take the wealth without right and falsehood. And likewise, they stop the people in the path of Allah. Now, by this misguidance that they're upon, by giving them the fatawa and directing them in the wrong manner, and seeking the dunya, for not giving them the proper rulings. And likewise, by being upon misguidance, they're misguided. So the author, he mentioned الأحبار العلماء والرهبان العباد ثم قال لكثير من علمائكم زيه أشبه بزي كسرى وقيصر منهم بمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. إن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يضع لبنة على لبنة ولا قصبة على قصبة ولكن رفع له علم فشمر إليه. We continue with this narration in our next class بإذن الله تعالى. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.